so honored. I give honor to our pastors, Pastor Q and Pastor Jared, for giving me this opportunity. You know, it's not easy to give up time behind the pulpit. They gave me this opportunity, and I'm so grateful, and I will not take it for granted today. I'm so excited to come, and God has given me a word. Thank you. Love you, Daniel. God has given me a word for you today, and I'm excited because we're continuing the Happy Days series, and we're learning how to control our emotions. And so how many know, like, sometimes our emotions run amok, right? They run amok in our life, but I want to go to 1 Samuel. And if you have your Bible, go with me. If you don't worry, we'll put it up on the screen. But 1 Samuel chapter 1. And I want to read a story to you guys today about a woman named Hannah. And it's a powerful story that ministered to me, and I pray that it ministers to you. But it says this, starting in verse 2. He had 2 wives, referring to Elkanah. One was called Hannah, and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah, he gave a double portion because he loved her, and the Lord had closed her womb. Why don't you do me a favor? Tell your neighbor as you're finding your seat, I'm so glad I get to sit next to you. Thank you, guys. Well, this is my first time preaching at E2 on a Sunday. And I'm just so grateful because I know not every pulpit around the world allows a woman to come and speak. And I honor our pastors for giving me this opportunity. And it's been so cool because the support that I've been receiving from directors and E-team members, just pouring out their love and support has just meant the world to me. Even my family, my parents and my grandmother came today. Just wave. They are amazing, and I wouldn't be here today without them. Literally wouldn't be here today without them. So appreciate that. How many thinks they did a great job? Oh, stop. I mean, it got a little weak after that. Okay, that's all right. But I remember there was a time when I was younger where my parents would call me a picky eater. Now, I've gotten a little bit better, but my dad used to tell me all the time, I feel so sorry for the man that you marry because you're so picky. Again, I've gotten a little bit better, but the biggest culprit for me had to be onions. I am not a fan of onions unless you fry them. Then I can eat that. Anyone like fried onions, onion rings? Okay. But everyone in my family knew that I didn't like onions. Like, it was a well-known fact, right? Like, well-known fact. I didn't need to tell anyone else because I said it all the time. So there was this time when I remember my mom was like, hey, I'm going to go grab some food, and she's going to run through a fast food place and grab us some burgers. And I said, sweet, I'll take some. No onions. No onions, though. So my mom gets home, and she comes in with that brown paper bag, you know, the one that's so greasy because the food is just like covered, soaking in grease. But it's so good, right? She comes in with this greasy bag, and I get excited because I'm starving. My mouth starts to salivate. I'm like starting to do that happy dance, you know, like when you're about to eat because you're so hungry. I reach in that bag. I pull out that burger, go to take a bite. Guess what is on the burger? Onions. There was onions on my burger. Do you know what I did? Mom, I can't believe that you put onions on my burger. I told you I don't like onions. Why would you order my burger with onions? You know, does anyone in this family even listen to me? Does anyone in this family even care about me? I don't like onions. I'm going off. When all of a sudden, my mom walks over. She grabs the burger from my hands, and she chucks it at me, and she says, just eat it. I was a little taken back. You see, because my mom, she's a strong woman, but she's a quiet woman. And so my dad, my sister, and I, we all look at each other, and we just started busting up laughing because we couldn't believe that my mom had this outburst. Our emotions sometimes can be determined by our expectations. See, my expectation was to have a burger with no onions, and my mom's expectation was that she would have a grateful child that was just happy to get something to eat and not be starving. But both of our expectations were not met that day. And our emotions took over because our emotions can be determined by our expectations. And it's hard sometimes to live with the right emotions when things aren't going right. Today I want to talk about it. So turn to your favorite neighbor and tell them the title of my message, Snap Out of It. Oh, it just got so awkward in here. The awkwardness just poured right out. Everyone's upset and offended. It's okay, we're talking about emotions. So we'll deal with that today with the Lord, all right? Now, Hannah wasn't in the place that she wanted to be at in life. You see, she had other expectations. Here she was married to this great man who provided for her, and all she wanted to do was to provide children for him, to carry on the family name. But by this point in her life, she had expected to be a mom. She had expected to have children, and I can understand where she's coming from. By this point in my life, I had expectations for other things. I'm sure you can relate as well. Like where you're at in your life, you had expectations that haven't been met yet. And she allowed that emotion of shame and embarrassment and disappointment to come in and overtake her. She allowed her emotions to be determined by her expectations. Hannah was so sad, and even her husband said, "Why are you so saddened?" He said, why don't you even eat? Now that one I can't relate to. Because when I'm sad, all I want to do is eat, y'all. Like, seriously, I'm like, hello, box of chocolate donuts, come over to my house right now. Like, that's all I want to do, so I can't relate with her on that one. But Hannah, through her disappointment, let the wrong emotions determine her enjoyment of life. See, in her mind, she thought, my husband doesn't love me because I can't provide for him a child. God doesn't love me because I'm barren. No one would ever love me. I will never be a mom. I'll never have children. She felt she was cursed. But some days are hard because we're not where we want to be at. We're not who we want to be, right? Let's just keep it real. We don't have the things or the people that we thought by now that we would have. And maybe you're here and you're in the 9th year of your 5-year plan. Hello. Some days are hard, and our emotions can run amok in our lives. But my first point, if we're going to snap out of it, we got to keep it 100. There was, last year around this time, there was this TV show that was huge. Everyone was talking about it. It was on billboards. It was all over social media. Every conversation that I walked upon seemed like they were talking about this show. In fact, even Josh, one of our guitar players, was like, Missy, you have to watch this show. Now, I try not to follow everybody else with the hype and what they're doing and what, right? I'm like, I got to be different. But I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I grab my remote and I get on my Hulu app and I turn on that TV show called This Is Us. Y'all better get that excited later when we talk about Jesus, okay? I got really excited. I started watching this show, This Is Us, and The first time I tuned in for that episode, I was ready to be so judgmental. I was like, no, that's not good. Not good. Like, the show just got started. I'm like, oh, no, I don't even like the beginning. No, it's not good. But I kept watching. The last scene of that episode, that first episode, how many has seen that? Yeah. The last scene of that first episode, it got me. It pulled me in. It was so different. It wasn't a typical story that I got sucked in. So then I started binge watching. How many bingers are in the place? Yeah. All my bingies. We should start a group. Bingies. I started watching episode after episode. I was glued. I was like involved in everything that was going on, like the things on the show, the storyline. I mean, whatever they went through, I was going through. I was laughing. I was crying. Like, they had me on an emotional roller coaster, you guys. Then there was one day I got mad. Because I started seeing how Randall, Kevin, and Kate started treating their mom. I was like, okay, she's got flaws, but that ain't right. Like, every little thing in your life that's wrong, you blame on her. I got so mad. I was so mad at them. Really, I was mad. And you know, the funny thing was, actually, it wasn't funny at the time. When I turned the TV off, that emotion stayed with me. I was mad the whole day. I was irritated. Every little thing bothered me. Stinking Kevin, Randall, and Kate. I'm telling you what, I was irritated the whole day. I allowed this fictional story, these fictional characters on a show, I allowed what they were experiencing to become my reality. Their emotions became my reality. How many of us allow the enemy to come in and to paint a fictional picture? Not even the truth, but he paints a fictional picture, and we listen to the lies from the enemy, and that becomes our emotion. And we allow this fictional picture to begin to paralyze us from doing what God has asked us to do. There are too many days where we live in fictional reality. Our emotions are real, right? What we feel is real, but what they're based on most of the time is fictional. If we're going to keep it 100, we have to expose the deception. Deception is one of the quickest ways to gain little things and lose big things. I'm going to say that again. Deception is one of the quickest ways to gain little things and lose big things. Husbands, maybe your wife isn't cooking for you as much. She doesn't show you the same amount of attention that she did when you first got married. She doesn't wear those fancy, well, we're going to leave it there, but we paint this picture that she doesn't love us anymore, that she doesn't care about us anymore. So we withdraw and we disconnect based on a picture that is fictional. When basing our emotions on half-truths, we live in that deception. Hannah was living in that deception. She was living in sadness every single day, saddened. And deception is what triggers our emotions. Again, we understand the emotion is real, but what it's based on sometimes is not. Someone was supposed to be home by a specific time, and they're not home. What's the first thing we do? They're probably like laying on the side of the road in a ditch, and they got in a car accident, and their seatbelt didn't hold them in, so they got like lunged out of the car. And like we have this whole dramatic story happening in our brain just because they're not home at the time that they said they would be home. We tend to base our emotions on a fictional thing. So then we become worried. Whew. We're worried. Where are they? Are they okay? We understand, again, what we feel is real, but what we base it on, what is that? What is the truth? If we could learn to fix our eyes on God, if we could run to Him because He is the truth, right? And if we base our emotions on Him, knowing that there's a greater reality than what our experiences are. Psalms 121 verse 1 says this, I will lift up my eyes to the hills where my help comes from. My help comes from the Lord who made the heaven and the earth. Having our eyes fixed on God will change things because He is our help. And He will help us to expose those lies. Church, we got to look a little bit deeper. And we just need to find the root. Find the root. See, I know the symptoms. Anger, worry, anxiety. I know the symptoms. But what is the source? What is the root? This year in my life, I made a goal, you guys. I made a goal that I wanted to be more self-aware. And I think sometimes, we're so good at helping other people grow that we forget to grow ourselves and push ourselves. And so I said a dangerous prayer, you guys. And I asked the Lord, I said, God, reveal in my character things that are not of you. Things that don't reflect you. It has been apparent that God answers prayers because He has lovingly been pointing things out. And I, said, okay, I asked for this, right? That dangerous prayer. And God has been working with me on several things. And I remember another time when God had worked on me and He had begun to talk to me about the way I have relationships with other people. And He said, Missy, you're reachable, but you're not accessible. Like people come and talk to you, but you don't really go talk to people. I was like the wall of Jericho, you guys. Like people had to march around me 7 days just to get these walls to fall down. I mean, like no joke. But God was working on me, and He brought people into my life who helped and showed me what that looked like to have a real deep friendship. But I'm learning now that it's hard. It's hard when God is revealing some things and when He's revealing the roots. And again, developing the real friendships. But then there was a time when I started struggling with connecting and trusting people, new people in my life. Why was I having such a hard time? Like, what was the root of that? And that's when I realized that I had been experiencing this new emotion called rejection. You see, I had some hurtful relationships that brought rejection into my life. And I had been struggling with that. Like, God, I know you said that when they reject me, they really reject you. But, like, I feel like it's all pointed towards me. You know what I mean? Like, their Facebook post doesn't say anything about God, but it's all directed towards me, right? Like, they're angry with me. They're not angry with God. So I feel like it's all coming at me. But I'm learning now that I'm not as good as I thought I was dealing with rejection. And now my focus can slip. And emotions are triggered. And then my eyes are not focused on God anymore because now they're focused on the situation, they're focused on the offense, and they're focused on what I'm feeling in that moment. My expectations were met by people, and my emotions got the best of me. Sometimes the deception tells me that because one person rejected me, that everyone's going to reject me. Even people I haven't met yet. Somebody could walk in, and I'm like, oh, yeah, the hat, the shorts, the shoes. I've met someone like you before. I know your kind. I know what people like you do. Yeah. So no, I'm good. I'm good. I won't even engage. I won't even have a friendship with you. I'm good because I was hurt by someone like you. Our rejection comes in and messes with us where we can't even embrace new people in our life because of past rejection. What I had to learn was rejection is God's protection. You see, Hannah in that moment couldn't see God's protection because all she felt was rejection. But if she had looked to God, she would have seen that God wasn't rejecting her, that God loved her. In fact, that one day God would bless her with a son, and that son would be a prophet. Myself, well, in those moments, I didn't see God's protection. I was just looking at that offense and the situation. We tend to do that, don't we? We're not looking at God. We tend to go, well, I didn't get the job, so I'll never get a job. Well, I didn't get pregnant, so now never going to be a mom, never going to have a child. Or that relationship didn't work out. No, I'll never be married. I'll just be single for the rest of my life. Or like, I didn't make it to the next round on The Voice, so maybe that means I'm not that good. Maybe I should quit singing. But if our eyes are fixed on the Lord, knowing that we know God has not rejected us, this would not deceive us, making us feel like rejected because God has accepted us. Jacked up and all, He accepts us. In our brokenness, even our broken heart, He accepts us. And if God is the only one that can fulfill me, let me say it over here. If God is the only one that can fulfill me, then I know that people can come and go because God is with me, and that's the only thing that matters, because He will never leave me nor forsake me, that He will stay by my side. He will be with me always. I'm always on His mind. I'm never a bother. He won't unfriend me. He won't block me. And even though Psalms 23 says, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because He is with me. He is by my side, and He won't let me go because my eyes are fixed on Him. Even His rod and His staff, they will comfort me because my eyes are fixed on Him. So today, in this moment, I fix my eyes on the Lord, wanting only the real thing, not a counterfeit. I expose the root. I expose the deception, and I say, deception of rejection, you got to go in the name of Jesus. Our acceptance is found in Him. Our peace is found in Him. And if how we truly feel is found in Him, He can do something no one can take away. Newsflash, no one can control your emotions. You know that people say, I'm about to lose it. I'm like, no, honey, you're about to give it away. No one can control our emotions. Only we can control our emotions. Our expectations cannot dictate. It cannot dictate our emotions. So church, today, guess what? If you build it, they will come. We're talking about emotions. Thank you, guys. Don't they do such a great job? Our production team. I want to show you guys something that I hope the Lord speaks through you, but this is our life, and when we wake up in the morning, the world is right there. They are knocking on your door. You go, well, I'll just check my phone real quick. So you open up your phone, and the first thing you see are those notifications from social media, right? Like literally staring at you in the face. Like, I'll just clear the notifications, right? That's all you're going to do. First post pops up, and your friend just bought a house. And you've been wanting a house for a long time. So you start to get jealous. The emotion of jealousy comes in Then you go to check your email, and guess what? You got an email from your boss, and they want to talk to you today before you go to lunch. What's the first thing? Anxiety. Anxiety comes in. Worry comes in. Now, you're moving on with your day, but then you go to take the kids to school, and then your child lets you know as you pull up to the school that they forgot their assignment at home. And now that assignment was due today. I'm knocking on someone's front door right now, huh? So then what happens? You get a little frustrated. Woo! Frustration comes in. And then the doctor calls. Your test results are in. But they want you to come in so they can talk to you personally. Fear. Fear. Fear comes in. And all of these emotions pile in. Moment after moment, emotion after emotion, they come in and we become completely consumed with all of these emotions. And here God is wanting to be the center, wanting His truth to be the center. But we're so full of the deception from what the world has brought to us that God's truth can't come in and be the center. So now we live with our lives and our emotions controlled by this deception. That's all we think about because God's truth can't get to us because we don't have room. But if we could build our confidence on the rock that is higher than us, if we could let God's truth be the center and what we base our day on, when God's truth is the center, the enemy's lies are exposed. That every lie that comes, every emotion that comes your way, you ain't having it. If God's truth was the center, whatever you would face throughout your day would not even faze you. I want to show you this. Because God says He's not giving us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. God, I trust in you, so I have peace now. That emotion comes in. God, you said that you traded my sorrow for joy, and so now I got joy, and my life is full of God's truth. So when the world, don't get it twisted, because when the world comes in, because they'll come knocking on your door. But you see, when God's truth is the center, the world can come at you any way it wants, but it doesn't shake you, it doesn't shift you, it doesn't take you out. It can fall on the side, but it's going to roll off because God's truth is what you base your life upon. God's truth is what you base your whole walk of life on. Every emotion is applied to God's truth. I'm sorry, but when I get to expose that the enemy is a powerless punk, I get a little excited. You see, because the enemy, he's trying to seek who he may devour. He comes in like a roaring lion, is what the Bible says, seeking who he may devour. And how many know that the key word there is seeking?